¿Dónde vives? Yo vivo en California. ¿Dónde vive tu amigo? Mi amigo vive en Perú. ¿Escribes mucho o poco en la clase de español? Yo escribo mucho en la clase de español. Hey everybody, welcome to this video. We're looking at how to use IR verbs in Spanish in the present tense. So if you've already learned how to do like your AR and ER verbs, this first part you probably already know and you're good. But if you want a quick refresher or just update your notes if you've lost them, first thing you want to know is make sure you know your subject pronouns in Spanish, which are these words right here. So pause the video if you need to write those down. If you want access to this slideshow, you can either scan this QR code, or I'll also put the link in the description of the video on YouTube so that you can open this up if you want to have it there as well and just have it in front of you at all times. So let's get to step 2, which is conjugating those IR verbs. On the left-hand side of this Jamboard, you can see I've got several common regular IR verbs in Spanish. We're going to look at how to do vivir, the verb which means to live. And then again, if you can do one of these regular verbs, you can do all of the regular verbs. You just got to know one of them. So first thing you're going to do is take the IR off of the end of your verb vivir, and you're left with VIV. And then we'll add our new endings to it. So vivo will be I live, vives, you live, vive, he or she lives, vivimos for we live, vivís for you guys live, and that's in Spain. And then viven can be they live, or you guys, ustedes, live. So if you're asking or wondering, these kind of look familiar, I wonder why that is. Well, if you go back to maybe your ER verbs, if you've already learned those, you'll notice that the endings for these verbs are the same with the exception of the nosotros and the vosotros. So the IR verbs are very similar to one another. And then if you're even seeing more familiarities between other verbs, there are some with the AR verbs as well. So first of all, let's look at the yo form. You'll notice they're all the same, right? They all take off the ending and you add the O to it. So you take those verbs and now you can say I do that activity, which is cool. You'll notice that the tu form always ends with an S. So we got vives, comes, but then the AR verb is just an AS instead of an ES. There's another pattern I'll point out to you if you haven't noticed this yet, and that is if you take the tu form, that's the second one in the middle left, and you drop the S from it, you now have the he, she form. And then if you add an N to the he, she form, you have the eos form on the right. And that works for not just regular verbs, but all of the irregular verbs as you move along. Not all of them, most of the irregular verbs as you're moving along in the present tense in Spanish. So it's a really super helpful pattern to have. You'll also notice that the nosotros, the we, always ends with that MOS. Obviously, there's that one other vowel before it that changes depending on what kind of verb you have. And then the vosotros also has similarities as well with the IS ending on it. So I just wanted to point out those similarities to you. A couple of questions you can use right away, kind of like the ones I had at the beginning of the video. If you want to ask someone, where do you live? You can say, ¿Dónde vives? If you want to be more formal and use the usted, you would say, ¿Dónde vive? Or ¿Dónde vive usted? And then to answer that question, you can say, vivo en, and then the place you live. You can be specific, the city, the country, state, whatever. And then another question you could ask is maybe you're at some establishment and you want to ask if something is allowed to be done there. You could maybe you see an employee there and you want to ask him, can I wait here? Or, is it permitted to wait here? So I could say permite, and then that verb right there, esperar, means to wait. So permite esperar aquí. Or maybe you're driving a car, you want to know if you can park there. This word at the end here, estacionar, means to park. So permite estacionar aquí. It's kind of like saying, is it permitted to park here? And then the last one, if it's not really a question, but maybe you want to get to know your friend better and he has a girlfriend or whatever. You want to say, describe that person to me. You could say, describe tu, which is describe your, and then you can fill in the blank with whatever, tu familia, tu novio, tu novia, tu abuela, whatever you found to describe that person. If you want to do the crossword puzzle here to practice these IR verbs, you can use the QR code. It works just fine on your phone. There's a link to it right there at the bottom. You can't click on the screen, but I'll put the link in the description of the video on YouTube, so you have some additional practice for using these IR verbs. And there's also a Quizlet set if you want to study the IR verbs as well. Hopefully all of this helps you out. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Hasta luego.